Between the politicians and the screenwriters.
Our very big early hit was political.
Seems quite enamoured by how good looking some of this.
And quite established, quite politics with a P.
But what people had really revelled in was seeing politicians squirm.
Absolutely.
And it has to take you into places that are normally closed to the average punter. Well, mine was based, as you know, Very British Coup was based on the possibility that a left-wing government would be elected, one which threatened the American bases, or at the very least the cruise missiles, and that the American government, then a Reagan government, and the British establishment would conspire to bring it down. Now, that's not a wholly unrealistic, that wasn't at the time a wholly unrealistic scenario. There had been attempts under most Labour governments to destabilise them in some way. The most famous example is the Zinoviev letter in 1924. In 1969, Cecil King, a big newspaper magnate, attempted to set up a government, a businessman's government, and tried to persuade Lord Mountbatten to chair it. And Sir Solly Zuckerman, who he also tried to bring on board, walked out saying this is treason. And then in the mid-1970s, various people, some of them fruitcakes, attempted to set up private armies. General Sir Walter Walker tried to recruit a private army to deal with what he confidently anticipated would be the chaos arising from a period of Labour government. He was largely dismissed as a nutter, but as I say, he had been the Commander-in-Chief of NATO Northern Europe. And a more sinister figure, Colonel David Stirling, set up an organisation called GB75 for much the same purpose. And he was the founder of the SAS, so I think we had to take him seriously. And there were anonymous articles beginning to appear. Even I remember one by an anonymous army officer in the Times talking about the circumstances under which some sort of military takeover might be necessary. So that kind of paranoia, there was a basis for it. And plus there was a possibility that the Labour Party would be led by Mr. Benn, and prior to the Falklands War, Mrs. Thatcher was doing very badly in the polls, so it wasn't a wholly unrealistic scenario to imagine that this country might return a left-wing government. So the establishment were getting a bit panicky. And so that was the basis on which I wrote the novel. And the fact that a number of other people either wrote or attempted to write novels on similar themes suggests that it wasn't just my imagination.
Do you think political attitudes dictate the fiction, or does the fiction dictate political attitudes?
Well, my political attitude certainly dictated my fiction. I hope it's not too far removed from reality, but it's got to have an air of credibility about it, of course, unless you just want to address the very small band of truly converted. So it's got to have, and a little light touch here and there, a bit of humour, not a lecture.
Absolutely. Is the motivation to make politics, the political world, accessible, or is that just a fortunate byproduct of other motivations to it?
Well, the political world's the background, the context in which your story takes place. You've got to have a good story to tell. However well you write the background, if you haven't got a good story to tell, and if you aren't capable of telling it in an interesting way, then you might as well forget it.